to Proverbs again. I got to find the verse. I can't remember the verse. Proverbs 14, chapter 14. Proverbs chapter 14. And verse 34. And I'm going to read it one more time, and then I'm going to read another verse out of Psalms. I think I did last week, but I don't remember. But I'm going to this week, okay? So, Proverbs chapter 14. Is that what I said? Yes. And verse 34. I got to get the right verse here. Are you there? It says this. Notice it. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. I want to read you just that one. I want to read one more to you. This is out of Psalms. Let's run over to the book of Psalms now. Back up to the book of Psalms. And I want to read you one verse. It's in chapter 33. Psalms 33, and then we'll get on with this. Say a few words about this. Verse 12. Psalms 33 and verse 12. Ready? Bless this nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance. All right. Last week I was talking to you a little bit, and I want to just continue a little bit of a thought here. I don't have a whole lot to say about this further, but I want to say a few more things about this. Last week I wanted you to be impressed with what I was saying. Righteousness exalts. Everybody say righteousness exalts. But sin is a reproach. Remember that. That's always important that we remember. Righteousness exalts. And and I used the term, and I wanted to use this as a foundation to preach concerning an individual, a church, or a nation, because the Bible says righteousness exalts a nation. And we know that if our nation would turn to godliness, if our nation would turn to righteousness, and how does that happen? It happens one person at a time. Remember we talked about that? If every individual in the church, if everybody in the church would practice being righteous, or practice being holy, or practice being upright, this nation would change. We have so many people in the church today that live just like the world. There is no distinction. There's no difference. They have no really holy value. They don't live according to holiness. The Bible says, be ye holy because I am holy. Let me tell you something. As a Christian, listen to me, as a Christian, your fruit will be righteousness, holiness. You know what I'm talking about. It'll be something that is different from the regular old sinner out there that's out in the world. And I'm not picking on the sinner out in the world. I'm saying that your example will bring them to Jesus. Your example is what it's going to take to bring this nation back to its knees. Or let me say it this way. It is the church that needs to be on their knees for this nation. It is the church that needs to be on their knees for the church. It is the church that needs to be on their knees for the individuals. How many of you know we need to pray for one another? It is our responsibility to uphold one another in prayer. You know, it's our responsibility to take each individual and pray for them. We need that. I don't know about you, but I need your prayer. I want you to pray for me. I'm not ashamed to have somebody come and pray for me, because there's power in your prayer. The Bible says that if you have a need, you call for the elders of the church, and they come and they lay hands on you. And the Bible says the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and he'll raise up and it'll be healed. Man, that's good news. That's one of the reasons that, over these last 21 days we've been fasting and seeking the Lord, because you know what? I've learned something, that in the realm of the kingdom, generally the people who walk in power are those people who fast. I'm sorry, but that's the real truth. You can do a whole lot of things, but you can see people who move in power, who move in the glory and the demonstration of God's power. Generally, it'll be people who spend time fasting and in prayer. Fasting and in prayer. Paul said, in fastings often, in hungerings all the time, in perils of this and that. But I'm telling you that fasting and seeking God is the answer to showing power. And I believe that, I'm so thrilled that Kelly was on the internet that day when she seen Jensen Franklin, and he begins to talk about giving the Lord the first, days of the year. And so we decided, we will as a family fast for 21 days and give ourselves to the Lord. And we have. Thank God it's over, though. Whew, man, I tell you, it was rough. It was rough. What we did, and I'll just tell you how we did it. We fasted straight every other day, no food. But every other day we'd fast with some food, a little bit of food. And I'll tell you something, after about 21 days you begin to crave things. Fasting is not easy, but it's powerful. And just because the 21 days is gone doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue, because I believe that fasting is powerful. Did you know I lost weight while I did it? Somebody says, I can't lose weight. Can I help you? Fast. You'll lose it. And keep your normal schedule. Come and pray and seek the Lord and do your praying and your reading the Bible, but just stay busy and you'll lose weight. It'll fall off of you. And I believe that's the call of the church today. Righteousness will exalt you. Everybody say, righteousness will exalt you. See, that's where I fail sometimes. I failed, and I know that God's got bigger plans for me than I've let Him have. I know that God's got bigger plans than what I can see. And I know that I failed in many of areas, and it's not because of God. How many of you know it's never God's fault? It's never God's fault. It's always me. There's something going on here. It's not God. Jesus did everything that I need in order to have what I have to do this life and be powerful in ministry. It's just that I didn't do it. For whatever reason. But I want you to get a handle on this. Righteousness does exalt. How many of you know God's got no trouble exalting righteous men? He wants to exalt you. He wants to put you on a high place. He wants people to look at your life. He wants people to see the light set on the hill. We have one problem. And I said this last week, and I got scriptures to give you here. The Bible says that Proverbs 17 and 19, the Bible says, he that loveth transgression loveth strife. And he that exalteth his gate shall seek destruction. The problem we have is sometimes we get exalted in our own thoughts. We think we're high and mighty. We think we're really somebody. But I want you to know something. I was, the other morning, I don't tell everybody everything. Generally, I try to just keep to myself and shut my mouth if I can, because I'm safer that way. But the other morning, I was down here and I was doing something. He goes, go and read Colossians chapter 3. And I want you to start with verse 12, because this is what I want to say to you. And I said, okay. And I had no clue what it said. I know scriptures in the Bible and whatever, and I have a general overlay of what's going to be said, but I didn't know what he was going to say to me. And so I went over there and I read it. And I'll tell you something, it spoke to me. It spoke to me really loud and clear. And I want to use that as part of what I want to say this morning. So look at this with me if you want to. Run over to Colossians chapter 3. And I want to read it to you. And this is what the Lord said to me personally. All right? How many of you know the Bible or the Lord can speak to you out of the Word? He certainly can if you'll let Him. And this is what the Bible said to me the other day. And I went over there and I read it. And what I did is I backed up and I read the whole chapter, but then I focused in on what he was saying. So let me start in verse 11 and read to you what he said to me. And I truly believe that the Spirit of God said this to me, and He said it to me personally because I needed it. So here we go. It says in Colossians chapter 3, verse 11, it says, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian or whoever that other guy is, bond or free, but Christ is all and in all. Now listen to what he says. Listen, put on therefore as the elect of God. Who's he talking to? He's talking to you and me. The elect of God. And he says, put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved. He says, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. That hit me right here real hard. And what he was saying is, to me, he was saying, you know what? I want you to humble yourself. How many of you know that's what fasting will do? It'll humble you. It'll help you. And how many of you know that God is, if the Bible says that pride goeth before destruction or a fall. I don't remember how it says it. It says it one way or another. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall, or something like that. But one thing I will say, that when you get proud and you get arrogant, you get to think you're somebody, I'm telling you something, you're in dangerous ground. And that's exactly where the nation of America is at today. That we've got to a place in America where we're proud and we're arrogant and we think we don't need God.